Hello there. Welcome to class. Welcome. I'm Miss Faust. Please make sure that you have paper available and a pen or pencil. Yes, you may be taking notes today. At least the material back here. Okay? And anything else that I will be sharing. Now please remember, today I'm going to go over the story like I've been doing so far this school year. The highlights, so it's not everything's going to be covered. Okay? And then I'm going to talk about the assignment, which if you look over in this side, it is due today. Okay? So we have a lot to cover. So let's get started. Again, we are dealing with Toshio Mori's Say It With Flowers. All right, let's begin. I'm going to be referring to my textbook. Feel free to pull out your copies if they're available of the story, however you want to do that. So in a way you could follow along, but I shall leave that up to you. So let's get started. As I said, the highlights, tidbits. Okay, so you might say, wait a minute, we didn't. Again, time and constraints and all that. We don't want to be here for hours, do we? Of course not. Okay, let's get started. So we have a narrator. Do we by any chance know the narrator's name? I'm looking to see if there's a name here. Do we? No, we don't. The narrator happens to be first person point of view because we can tell by the pronoun I. Yes, indeed. But we don't know the name. We do know there is a Tommy that works there. And there is a Mr. Sasaki who works at this flower shop. Did everyone get that? Good. Now, Tyro comes into play. Becomes a part of the story. So he answers like an ad type situation. Well, not exactly an ad, but he's asking for a job. So there's no ad out there saying, hey, we want somebody. He asks, and they're willing to take him on because they are short on help. Okay, so we got that covered. So he has to learn how to work with flowers. After all, this is a specialty shop. It deals with flowers. I got my flowers up. Okay, we got that covered. So yes, so Tommy and the narrator are only too happy to show him the ropes, okay, of how to work in a flower shop. I'm looking here. In a couple of weeks, Tyro was just as good a clerk as we had in a long time. So yes, indeedy. They're happy, aren't they? They're happy. Okay, so he's getting the hang of it, of what to do. Okay, so he asks, how do you tell when a flower is fresh or old? Okay, so all I do is follow your instructions and sell the ones you tell me to sell first. Which flowers does he sell first? He sells the ones that the people, as they're walking by the shop, they see in the window buckets full of flowers, don't they? Those are the ones he sells first. But I can't tell one from the other. Okay, so he has a little problem trying to differentiate between this flower and that flower. And is this one fresh, or is this one fresher? Is this old one, or however? Okay. All right. You don't need to know that, says the narrator. When the customers ask you whether the flowers are fresh, say yes firmly. Our flowers are always fresh, madam. Okay. These flowers came in 4 or 5 days ago, didn't they, Tyro? Tyro is pretty smart. He's a smart cookie. He's got this figured out. He's being told to sell flowers from the window area, right there by the window. And he realizes that, hey, after all, he's working in the shop, that these are the older flowers. So that when some woman or some older gentleman come by, or a young child comes by asking for flowers, he's selling these individuals the older flowers, the flowers that might, they may not look so great because they've been in the shop for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So even though they're in buckets full of wonderful water, they're not going to last. The minute you go home, the next morning you're going, oh, what happened to my rose? Because, when you go to the store, the flower shop, or to an Albertsons or Fry's or whatever, and you buy some flowers, you expect the flowers to last a few days, don't you? Because you don't want to hand out 20, 25 bucks, dollars, for wonderful roses, or 30 or whatever, and they're drooping within 24 hours. Okay, but this is what's happening at this flower shop. Okay, so the two workers there, the two clerks named the narrator and Tommy, they're just doing what Mr. Sasaki tells them. Okay, he is the owner of the shop. He is what is he? He is a businessman. Whereas Tyro is not. He's just a sales clerk. There is a difference here. Maury's trying to tell us. Now keep in mind, I did tell you that he was a nurseryman, that he dealt with flowers and bushes and trees, that he grew and sold and whatever. So he knows this business really well, anything with flowers. Okay, so Mr. Saki is a businessman. That's really important concept to understand in this story. Again, being a sales clerk, there's nothing bad about that. But there's a difference between the owner, who happens to be a businessman, okay, versus the employee who is a sales clerk. There's a difference between the two. One tells the other what to do. The other does what he's told by that owner, by that boss. Okay? So that's the relationship here with Tyro. Tyro is a smart kid. Okay? He is smart. He's not dumb. He knows what's going on here. He figures it out pretty quickly here, because he's looking at the flowers and going, these were brought in 4 or 5 days ago, weren't they? Yeah. And so I've been telling the people these are fresh and they're going to last. So I've been doing what? I've been lying, haven't I? Yeah, well, it's okay. You get the hang. You get used to it. We've been doing it all this time. It's okay. Well, no, it's not okay to Tyro. It is definitely not okay to him. Okay? He's told by Tommy, say something like this. Our flowers are always fresh. You bet, if somebody asks, you bet they are. Just came in a little while ago from the market. Tyro looked at us calmly. That's a hard thing to say when you know it isn't true. He has a guilty conscience. The others don't. That's what I'm trying to tell you with the relationship here. The boss versus the employee. Okay? The sales clerk really has nothing to say, because he's not the owner. What does he know about the business? Whereas Mr. Sasaki knows the business. Okay? So yes, he follows along. He does really well for a short time. But then he does what? He does what? He goes to the back and he does what, folks? He gets out the fresh flowers. He goes to the back and gets that one instead of this one out there by the window. The fresh flower, not the one that's going to droop within 10 minutes of going home. Okay, he gets the fresh flowers out. Okay, so Tommy warns him. They both do. The narrator trained him. The Tommy, along with Tommy, they've trained him. This is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you tell the difference between flowers, if they're fresh, all this. They teach him the business. Okay? So he knows what to do, but he prefers the flowers in the back because those are the fresh ones. Plus, it's not going to bother his conscience. Unlike Tommy and the narrator, he can't lie. It doesn't work for him. They try to prevent him from getting in trouble, and unfortunately, he does get in trouble. Mr. Sasaki, I was about to say Mr. Tyro. Mr. Sasaki warns him, no, we don't do that. Okay? We don't do that. So they, okay, that's great. So, the two clerks tell him, don't worry about it. You quit worrying. What's the matter with you? Okay. And then at one time so Mr. Sasaki takes him aside and says, hey, you've been selling fresh flowers and leaving the old ones go to waste. I can't afford that, Teruo. Why don't you do as you're told? Tommy and the narrator do as told. Okay? We all sell the flowers in the front. Pretend that's the front. Here are those flowers. That's going to droop in a moment. Okay? I tell you they're not old in a flower shop. Why can't you sell them? So for him, it's if they're in a flower shop, and even if they're 4 or 5 days old, they're not bad. But if they're in some other store, and maybe then they're bad. But not while they're, okay. I don't want to fire you. You're a good boy, and I know you need a job. But you've got to be a good clerk here. So yes, he does. For a time, everyone's like, wow, he's getting into it. He's starting to do it. Somebody says something. He's like, yeah. These are great flowers. They're going to last everything. And, Okay. But he's caught. And again, Sazaki talks to him. And he says, Sasaki says, you're a blockhead. You have no business sense. What are you doing here? I'm not crazy, Mr. Sasaki, and I'm not dumb. I just like to do it that way. That's all. And of course, he tells Tommy in the narrative he's a sap. Okay, in other words, he's really not worth it. It's just a waste. It's not going through his brains. Okay. Okay. So yes, again, he does what he's supposed to. He ignores Mr. Sasaki. If I can get their names out, is out on business. Is gone for a few days. The two clerks are watching him, and they can see that he's going to the back. Okay. Doing funeral flowers and the like, different kinds of arrangements, and people come in, and he's doing to the back. Okay, so we have a lady come in, wants an orchid. She's going to have going to a ball. She's going to a ball, tonight's ball, and I think the orchid will match my dress. Of course, he tells her, if I were you, I wouldn't buy that orchid. It won't keep. I could sell it to you and make a profit. There you go. Why is Mr. Sasaki in the business? Profit. If you're a businessman, you're in it for profit. That's the key. Is he in it for people? Sorry, I'm going to be looking over here every so often to make sure I covered a few of my questions. Is he in it for people? No, he's not. He's in it for profit. Otherwise, he would go bankrupt and he'd close up shop and 3 people would be out on the street without a job. He's in it for the money. Teruo is not. You might say, well, that's because he's not the owner. If he were the owner, he would be. No. His conscience prevents him from it. From lying, constantly lying. He can't do it anymore. He can't do it anymore. But I don't want to do that and spoil your evening. Come to the back. We got some really nice gardenias. She's so excited. Goes to the back, and he gets some really fresh flowers out for this young lady. Okay, because he can't do it. Then a boy comes in, doesn't really have the money, and Mr. Sasaki is now back. He's been back from his trip, so he was out for lunch and everything. And he's watching this, and he sees that the boy, that he's watching what he's doing. The boy's getting flowers, doesn't have enough money, and this and this. And the young lady, there's a young lady, she's getting some roses back to the rear and picked out a dozen of the very fresh white roses. And what does he do? She loves them. He lets her go without paying. Mr. Sasaki's like, he didn't pay. Go get her. And he's like, no, absolutely not. She liked those flowers. And I gave them to her. Are you crazy? So what happens to Ruo? Yes, he gets his wages for the days, and he's told, bye, it's been nice knowing you. Don't come back, so to speak. Okay? He doesn't want the money. Okay? What does he say? I don't want it. You keep it, buy some more flowers. Here, take it. Get out. And he rings up the cash register. All right, I'll go now. I feel fine. I feel fine. I'm happy. Thanks to you. No hard feelings. To Mr. Sasaki. And he says goodbye to the narrator and Tommy. He walks out and he's just, what's he doing? Whistling. He did not come back to see us again. He's happy. He is very happy. He's not having to live a lie. He's not having to lie to people that might ask. And as long as they don't ask how fresh are the flowers, he's fine. The minute they say, hey, are these flowers going to keep at least till the weekend? He can't do it. He has a guilty conscience. He is not the narrator. He is not Tommy. They want a job. They know that if Mr. Sasaki can't keep his business, they will be out on the street looking for another job. So again, that's what we're looking at. Mr. Mori is trying to tell us here that Mr. Sasaki, the owner of this shop, is not in it for the people. Yes, he's concerned with the people. They've got to come in so he can sell them old flowers and keep the business going. He's, again, in it for the profit. Teruo is in this business. Well, he needed a job, okay? And this is something he could adapt to and learn and pick up really quickly and really truly adapt to, okay? This, the atmosphere of what to do and all that, and what to say and so on and so on and so on. But he's in it for the people. He wants to make the people happy. A child walks in, wants a flower, okay? That little boy, the boy was out in the front, and we saw him pick out a dozen of the $2 a dozen roses and give them to so on and so on and so on. He's giving them the boy flowers. He's in it to see that boy smile. That girl go crazy. Oh my gosh, this is going to be beautiful for the ball. Those lovely. Oh my gosh. He's in it for that. For the joy of seeing people smile. But unfortunately, that doesn't keep a business, does it? It doesn't keep a business making somebody happy. What keeps a business going is the money that trickles in. And if you take a woman who loves these flowers and you say, oh, you can have them. It's my gift to you, so to speak. Well, how are you going to make a business? Okay. And then again, when you look at it, you might say, well, why does Mr. Sasaki sell old flowers? I already told you. They're not old. As long as they're in the flower shop, they're not old. I mean, you might go to like a fry store sometimes. You'll see a bucket of flowers. And then you look at them, and you can tell they're sort of about to wilt. And you see that the price has been reduced. Okay? Instead of being $10 for the bouquet of these wonderful roses, whatever flowers you want, and all of a sudden there are maybe only $2.90, $2.99, let's say. And you can tell, because they're about to die. That's not what he's doing. He's not giving it to you for half price or a quarter of the price. He wants the full price. Whereas a fries or maybe or an outright flower shop may totally reduce it just to make a little bit of profit. But they're in it for you in the sense. Because they're telling you, hey, they're going to die. But if you really want them, that's great. And at the same time, we'll get a few pennies. Okay? So yes, he can't do that. Tyro, unfortunately, he wants to make people happy. Mr. Sasaki is, I don't care. Give me the money. Whereas over here, the guy's going, that's what he wants to see. Smile. All right? Okay. So, when you really think about the high point basically is what? What would be the climax of our story here? When it gets to a point where he just can't do it anymore. When he's made up in his head, and that's toward the end, where he ignores everybody. And he knows that the boss is watching him, and he's just going, here. No, don't buy the orchids. Let me get you flowers. Oh, to this boy's getting nice roses. To this lady, oh, no, you go on. Climax, going down. Okay? And you can tell his problem is dealing with that conscience. He can't deal with a guilty conscience. Okay? So yes, there's going to be a friction between his boss and the clerk, between the boss and the clerk. The clerk isn't listening to the boss. And the boss is very unhappy with the clerk because the clerk is busy listening to his conscience. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. So yeah, he's got to deal with that. I think we covered that. He's got to deal with his conscience. Okay, he's a good kid. He's smart. He knows what's right for him. And lying to people, selling old stuff is not right. At least you can say to him. Any questions? Anything at all? Let's turn to the theme. It's basically, this is a nice quote. I thought it was really neat. Tyro's personal pursuit of happiness. It is his pursuit of happiness. He is looking for happiness. He wants to see people smile. And have people go, as it says here, aren't they lovely? We heard her exclaim, the lady at the end, the one that walks out with free flowers. Okay, so that's what we got there. Always connected with success and failure, with hope and misery. Okay, yes, pursuit of happiness. It is with success and failure. Okay, his happiness wants to go this way. Yeah, you might have a little bit of failure because of the boss in a sense, but he's aiming for success with hope and misery. If you aim for misery, you're siding with Mr. Sasaki, the guilty conscience and all that. No. With hope that there's something better out there. Okay, in the sense that happiness is something much better than basically having to lie to yourself. Really? His pursuit of happiness does not include lying to himself. Okay, so we have a theme right there. This is just a question for you to think about. Is kindness a virtue? Because what he does is kindness. Is it a virtue? Is it a positive? Or is it negative? Mr. Sasaki might say it's not a virtue because he's losing money. You might say, yes, it is a virtue. He's making people happy. I'll leave it to you. Here's your assignment. All right. Okay, let's go back here. I need you today. Whoa. I disappeared. I need you to do paragraphs 1 and 2. 2 paragraphs today. Do you understand? 3 questions and then already the answer to the first question. So paragraphs 1 and 2. Today. I need them today. Here's your topic. Explain why you agree or disagree. Not both. You pick either agree or you disagree. Not both. With the way Tyro resolves the conflict he experiences in his job. Do you agree with the way he did it? Walking out and saying, bye! Or you're going, I would have stood up and fought the man. And we're not talking physical. We're talking verbal. Okay. It's up to you. Pick which one. Suggestions. Now, you could take these suggestions. Notice there are 3 of them. Just happened that way. And if you could think about it, if you would think about it, not could. If you think about it, you could turn them, there we go, there's the could. You could turn them into what? Your 3 questions. Wow, this is great, isn't it? But I'll leave that to you. Steps that Tyro takes to deal with his problems. What are his steps? His timing. Was it the right time? He had it at the end. He couldn't handle it anymore. Again, the climax is, I don't care what Sasaki says. I can't deal with it. I'm going to be leaving, so I'm just going to go and flowers to you. Okay. And another way that he might have solved the problem. Somebody might say, hey, he didn't have to leave. They could have had a talk, the 2, the clerk and the boss. It's up to you. So these are some thoughts to help you with the essay topic. Don't forget the writing formula. You need to use evidence from the story. Obviously, it comes from the story. And in the first question of the first paragraph, I need to see his name, Toshio Mori, along with the story title. Please put it in quotation marks. If you have any questions whatsoever, please contact me. But do not forget, this is due today. So when you're done writing the 2 paragraphs, please send them off to me today. And I'm looking forward to them. I am truly looking forward to them. This is a wonderful story to work with. Okay, it has so much good stuff to say, doesn't it? Okay, I do wish you a wonderful day indeed. Till next time, bye-bye.